Hi, I'm here to talk to you tonight about Machen Chapter 2, the Greek accents. For many, the accents are very complicated, but we're going to try to make them simple. The accents are important because just like the English words desert and dessert, the accent can signify a change in meaning, and the same with Greek. Now, originally, the accents might have express some kind of musical pitch or musical variance, but those pitches have been lost, so for our purposes, we're just going to use them as stress markers. Now, there's three types of rules that govern Greek accents. The first is these general rules that in general, that no matter how many syllables a Greek word has, that the accent has to fall on the back three syllables. If we considered the final syllable at the back of the word, we call it the one position. One back from that is the two position, and two back from the very end is the three position. On Greek words, the Greek language is such that the accent can only be on the final three syllables, which we designate as one, two, and three position. This is also affected by whether that final syllable is long or short. If the final syllable is short, meaning any short vowel, or the diphthongs alpha, iota, or omicron, iota, then the accent of the Greek word can be as far back as three. But if the final syllable is long, any of the other vowels or any of the other diphthongs, the accent can only be on the final two syllables. So in general, the Greek word, the accent has to be on the final three syllables. It can be as far back as the third one if the final syllable is short, as far back as the second one if the final syllable is long. Now, when we look at the kinds of Greek accent, there's only three. There's an acute, which is a slash going from the upper right to the left. There's a grave, which is going the opposite way from the upper left to the lower right. And then there's a circumflex, which is just kind of a half circle, like a little hat sticking up there. Basically, when you look at Greek accents, the only one you really have to pay close attention to is the circumflex. Why? Because the acute accent has no boundaries. Within the general rules of Greek accents, that the acute can range in any of the last three syllables, long or short, without restriction. So there's really nothing to say about the acute except that it can appear anywhere as long as the Greek rule accents in general apply. The circumflex is a little more restricted. It can only be on the last two syllables. And it can only be on the last syllable, the one position, if it's long. It can only be on the second to the last position, the two position, if two is long and the final syllable is short. Again, the circumflex can be on one if that last syllable is long, and the second to the last, the two position, if it's long and the last one is short. The grave is just an accent that really is only on the last syllable, signifying a word following. The grave is on the one position or the final syllable if there's a word following. For the most part, you don't even have to worry about the grave. The acute can be anywhere in the last three syllables, one, two, or three, long or short. It's the circumflex that can be on a one long, and that can be on two long if one is short. Finally, there is a difference between the way the verbs are accented and the nouns are accented. The verbs don't have an accent starting point. They just go as far to the front of the word, as far towards the three position as the general rules that we discussed allow. So if you have a five-syllable verb and one is short, it'll take the third position because Greek verbs like to go as far towards the front or the third position away from the back of the word as possible. And if one is short, it'll go all the way as far as three, and if one is long, it'll be in the last two positions. Nouns are a little bit different. Nouns have a starting point that is defined by the dictionary. In other words, if I take an English word like football, I only know by convention that it's football as opposed to football. Because language is arbitrary, it could be either. Well, Greek nouns are opposed to verbs are like this. They have a starting point that's defined by their dictionary-based subject form. And given that starting point of a noun, the Greek accent, as the noun form starts to shift, tries to retain that position so far as the general rules allow. I'll just give you a simple example like logos. Logos. Logos likes the accent on the second to the last position, and as this word starts to change, as it functions in a sentence, it'll maintain that two position as much as the general rules allow. In general, the Greek accent has to be on the last three syllables. It can only go as far as back as three if one is short. It can only be on the last two if one is long. The acute can go anywhere. The circumflex is on a long one or a long to only if one is short. And verbs go as far to the front of the word as possible, the general rules allow, and nouns have a starting point that's defined by their dictionary entry, their subject entry when they act like a subject, and they try to maintain that position as far as these general rules allow. That is Greek accents in a nutshell. Thank you.